What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My last video, we talked a little bit about kind of who I am, why I kind of decided to do this whole YouTube thing in the first place. So in today's video, we're going to be covering what it means to be an average bro, which of course the old saying is, you're just an average Joe. So average bro being a little bit of a play on words here, which of course, by the time I finish up saying everything, I think most of you guys and girls will agree that if you're able to do all this stuff, you're in no way average. But it's just kind of to be a little bit funny, right? Like if you're just this average guy, but you're so good at everything, you're really not an average guy. You're actually like, you're pretty well rounded in all kinds of areas in life. So, sorry, I'm going over train tracks. I'll start with this, right? I think your average bro should be well educated and at least hold a certain level of competency within whatever field that you're doing, right? So let's say, for example, right, I'll take my job for example. I work in the HVAC industry, and I have a mechanical engineering degree, which applies directly to HVAC. It allows me to draw from a super large base of knowledge that is not exactly specific to HVAC, but it's a nice foundation for general understandings of how heat moves through a system, how to design a system, what different types of equipments do, what are some of the more specific internal mechanics of the equipment that make it do what it's supposed to do. Stuff like that, right? So there's definitely correlation between those two things. Another good example would be like, if you're like a manager in a warehouse or something, and you have a business degree. Now, obviously, a business degree is very general, and my overwhelming suggestion would be to get a specialized degree. But we'll talk about college and education and stuff later. I think this would be a general overview. But for like a business degree, it helps learning management styles. It helps when you're trying to actually interact with people. It's better to understand business as a whole versus just getting something really specific. So in those applications, it can it can be pretty good. And then we could even go all the way as to saying, look, all you have is a high school diploma, right? But you went to a trade school, you went and got an associate's degree, something that allows you to pursue an education that's further than high school. Because let's be honest, most high schools are just like, we're going to do the bare minimum we can. Everybody's going to sit here and take these standardized tests. It doesn't teach very well to the specific needs of the individual. Now, high school accomplishes its goal tremendously, which is to give you a structure and to give you a baseline education for general knowledge. And that's why I'm saying you need to have specific knowledge, because you can't just skate through your whole life assuming that a high school education will, it will be the pinnacle of your intellectual and academic achievement. Even people who only have a high school diploma but are extremely successful, they have poured their free time, they've poured their research time up watching YouTube videos and figuring out what it is to do specifically at that thing that makes them successful. Like, take a standard fitness influencer, right? Most standard influencers are not going to have master's degrees, PhDs. You know, some of them went to college, some of them didn't. But I'm talking about the guys who, you know, that all they have is high school. Well, they obviously spent a lot of time researching and figuring out how to work out, how to eat right, how to diet, how to maximize training, you know, how to get in shape. Like, they must have spent a countless number of hours pouring themselves into that just so they could be ultra successful at fitness, right? To have a certain aesthetic, to have a, you know, like a certain persona online, like how to edit videos, like that obviously takes a lot of research. So don't be fooled by just the credentials of all I have is a high school diploma. I mean, and you sometimes that's all you need. It all just depends on like kind of what field you're going into, right? So that's a good segue into the next thing, which is, I think your average bro works out, I would say 2 to 3 times a week, depending upon your experience level. And I would say I think it's 150 minutes of cardio a week is the like suggested amount for, hey, you're like really in shape if you do this type of, like this many minutes of cardio a week. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I kind of chalk it up to about 30 minutes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that gives you about an hour. And then, you know, you do stuff on the weekends that, you know, play sports, hang out with friends, go on a hike. You know, there are plenty of activities that give you cardio without it just being, let's go to the gym and get on the treadmill, you know what I mean? So as far as strength training goes, I think it looks really different for everybody, right? Like, if you're a young teenager and you're just now getting into the gym, you know, you're 14 or 15 years old and like you're figuring it all out. Basically, all you need to do is get in there and work out. I know not a lot of people are gonna agree with that, but they're gonna say, what's the optimal exercises? What's the set range? What's, you know, what weight should I be doing? What percentage of my max should I be hitting for these lifts? You know, how many days should I be doing this? How many days should I be doing that? What's the sets per week? The reps per week? And, you know, it's great to worry about that stuff, track that stuff. I think only if you're an advanced lifter. And by advanced, I mean you have been in the gym for, you know, 5 to 10 years plus, and, you know, you're at a relatively competent body fat percentage, and you're able to do like a very standard multiplier of your body weight for like your 3 main lifts, right? So bench, squat, deadlift. And I think that's somewhere around like bench 1.25 times your body weight, squat being 1.5 your body weight, and then deadlift being like 1.75 your body weight. Now, I think if you're really strong, right, and you've put a lot of time and a lot of hard work in, then most people can probably do, well, maybe not most, but some of your like elite level guys will be able to do like 1.5 times their body weight for bench, 1.75 for your squat, and you'll be able to lift double your body weight on the deadlift. Which those 3 together, that's very impressive. There's not a lot of people who can do that. So I think relative to your weight is how you should like try to track your maxes, because man, it's like you go watch, you know, who's the strongest guy in the world, you know, who's deadlifted the most ever, who's bench pressed the most ever. I mean, they're huge guys, right? I mean, they're not 16, 17-year-old dudes who are, you know, 5'7", 5'8", 170 pounds. They're not bench pressing 700 pounds at that age, that weight, you know. Like, your strongest 17-year-old who's 5'7", 170 pounds, he might be benching 225. And like, that's the biggest and the best that you've seen. It's like, so it's all relative, right? So you should never really get discouraged by your own like level of progress or whatever like weights you're able to hit. Like, you should keep it internal to yourself. Of course, there's nothing wrong with expressing it to others, or, you know, videoing to show your progress or to track your progress or anything like that. But what I mean is, you shouldn't be out there comparing yourself to everybody else, because comparison is the thief of joy, right? So the more you compare yourself to others, you know, and all we ever really see on social media too, oh gosh, all we ever see on social media too is the, you know, it's somebody's perfect world life, right? Like their ideal version of themselves. It's not a true glimpse into who they are. So you're comparing yourself to somebody's ideal version of themselves, which, you know, if you as an individual compare yourself to something that's dreamt up in the first place, I mean, you're never going to be able to reach that type of standard. So, like, body weight wise, body fat percentage wise, strength wise, aesthetics wise, you should go and look at other people for inspiration. But, you know, I don't think you should ever compare yourself directly. You'll get too frustrated with the lack of progress, or just how some people generally, you know, they don't have to do as much, and they're gifted with supreme genetics, and, you know, they can work out twice a week and not track their calories, and, you know, they look like a Greek god, you know, chiseled out of a marble. You know, it's ridiculous. But that's just how it is, right? That's just how some people are. And there's nothing we can do to control that. So I think it's really important to not, you know, just not focus on that. My next topic is hobbies. I alluded to this earlier when I was talking about cardio, but I think it's really important for us to have a certain level of consistency with hobbies, because, you know, I like to think of it like this, right? You can pick 2 or 3 things that I think you could really apply yourself to, and, you know, it'll end up paying dividends in the long run for your longevity of health. I mean, that's obviously a big one, but I mean, also going back to the idea of a Renaissance man type thing, like, you don't want to just be so locked in on one specific thing that you're neglecting other experiences, right? Like I said in the last video. So with that, I would say you should try to focus on having 3 types of hobbies, right? I think first and foremost, I think most people should find some kind of sport that they like, right? So I know a lot of guys will say basketball, a lot of guys will say golf, right? Like, I know tons of people who golf. Some guys who are very good, some guys who are very, very bad, but that's all right, because, you know, as long as the sport and activity, hiking, I mean, hiking's a great one. Man, even bowling, dude. Like, I know a lot of people make fun of bowling, but it's something to do that gets you socially engaged with your friends, with your peers, and it's something to do to, you know, walk around, to burn some extra calories, it's about enjoying life, you know. And to me, in my personal experience growing up playing sports my whole life, man, sports has been one of the greatest sources of joy for me out of basically everything I've ever done. I've been able to get a lot of life lessons from it. I've been able to meet a lot of great people. I've been able to have a lot of great experiences through everything. And it all had to do with just playing sports, which obviously that's why I'm advocating for it, right? I think your number 2 hobby should be something music or art related, right? I know plenty of people who, they like to draw. I know plenty of people who like to paint, you know, things like that. I think are really important. need some kind of creativity outlet, right? Like, for me, that's guitar, right? I play a good bit. Probably play somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour every single day, and I have been doing that for about the last 8 years or so. So at this point, I'm pretty good at it, I think. Or at least I should be, with the amount that I've actually practiced. I mean, my goodness, if I wasn't, what have I been doing wrong this whole time, right? But anyways, having some kind of creative outlet, I think, it's really important, not only for like expression of your inner self, but also like your mental health, right? Like, if you're able to create and you're able to like pursue music, it just has music just has like a different effect on you as an individual, like on your soul, man. Like, it really does, which is great, right? Like, I obviously think that's a good thing. And then your third hobby. I think your third hobby should be really something really niche, something very unique, something you're genuinely super interested in that not a lot of people are also going to be super interested in. Or you do find a niche community where there are a lot of people who are really into something, but it's kind of something that helps make you unique to your personality, right? Like, to who you are as an individual. Because, you talk to most people who, they played sports in high school, you can assume a couple of things about them, right? Like, oh, you probably have worked out at some point, or you still are. You probably play in a rec league or in a church softball league, or, like if they play like baseball or something like that. There are a couple of standard assumptions you can make about a particular person based off of that kind of thing. But, those things are not super individualistic, right? Whereas music is a little more individualistic, because there's not a lot of people who play instruments. But, somebody who was in the band in high school, there's a lot of people who are in the band in high school. They all know how to play musical instruments. They have a baseline understanding of music theory. So then again, it's not super niche, not super unique. And then you have more particular hobbies. And, I play disc golf a pretty good bit. Now, while that's not this most niche thing in the world, it's a very small community and a small sport, even though it seems to be picking up in popularity. I could ask 20 of the closest people I know, and I might be the only one that actually plays disc golf with any regularity. That has any really relative competent knowledge in playing. Like, what's a hyzer flip, and how do you throw a hyzer? What's anhyzer? It's a difference between a forehand and a backhand. Why would you throw a putter here versus trying to throw a gliding mid-range? Or, why are you using a driver here? Which ones do you prefer for a forehand? Which ones do you prefer for backhand? What's a thumber? What's a grenade? Like, all these different types of specific throws. And, not... If I just spoke gibberish to you, that just goes to show you that it's a more niche hobby. Right, and this could be anything, right? It could be woodworking, it could be sewing, it could be like one of anything, right? It doesn't really matter. As long as it's something it's very, very true to who you are. That's kind of the main thing, right? Like, and I think disc golf for me kind of encompasses it as a total, right? Like, it incorporates a little bit of athletic skill. It incorporates, you have to hike through some of these courses, which I find very fun. there's a level of like skill and understanding you have to have, like understanding different types of throws, different types of discs, why they do certain things, which would be best for which particular shot, that kind of thing. And then the tight-knit like kind of community, I really like that aspect too. You know, there's obviously not so many people that play disc golf, so like you meet somebody who knows it, chances are they really know it. You know, it's not like bro from the gym who just goes in there and works out on the occasion. He may not be an experienced lifter, but you know, in disc golf, it's like you meet anybody who plays, chances are they're a pretty experienced player, you know, at least for the most part. So we've covered, you know, we've covered those three main hobbies. We've got education, fitness, and hobbies. I kind of think those are the big three, right? Like those are the biggest things that, you know, if you can go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week and, you know, do 150 minutes of cardio a week, if you have a relative level, a competent level relative to your field, then, you know, you're going to find yourself being very successful in whatever it is that you're doing if you understand it to a high level, like I'm talking about. And then if you have all these hobbies, right, like you have the time, you have the capacity, and the, you know, you have the ability to have a physical hobby, to have a musical hobby, and then to have a more niche hobby. I think that man, it can be really beneficial for your life. Like all of those things encompassed together, you know, they make what I consider to be your average bro. But again, if you can do all those things, you're not average whatsoever. I mean, walk into any room, any party, and go talk to anyone. You know, find the most fit looking guy in the room and say, hey, you know, do you play musical instruments? Do you play this sport? Do you do this? Do you sew? Do you knit? Do you whatever? Chances are they're going to say, no, I mean, I go to work and I go to the gym and that's it. It's like, so you're creating this persona, you're creating this like well-rounded individual by being able to do all of these things. You are becoming a Renaissance man, like I had talked about in my last video. I think society is better off as a whole if the majority of its members are, you know, well educated and competent in a lot of different fields. You know, it allows us to lend a little bit of our knowledge and expertise and experience to, you know, any given conversation. Now, whether or not that helps us like as a society, like govern policies or anything like that, I mean, it can at least be the basis for a good social understanding and a social structure of interaction with each other. You know, I think there's a lot of merit, you know, to knowing a lot of different people who understand a lot of different topics in a lot of different fields. You should utilize them as a resource, right? Like if you're ever, I mean, just talking to people about their experiences to me is just so fun and interesting because everybody has such a unique experience. Everybody has such a unique mindset, unique goals, you know. It's so fascinating to sit back and learn from people who, you know, you wouldn't really expect, or maybe you do expect them to have some kind of really interesting, really like neat life experience. It's like you'll never know until you do, right? Just like I was talking about in the last one. You know, there should be nothing that holds you back because you won't know if you overwhelmingly enjoy it or if you're really good at it. I mean, there's always that too. Until you try. You have to go out and try. Because you could end up finding something that you love, that's something that like you are great at, you know. There's this, I forget the name of this guy who used to say this, but I'm coining his phrase. I used to watch him on YouTube. He's like, Find the thing that you are the best at in the world, because you have some skill, you have something that maybe not immediately, but within however many years of practice and research, knowledge gaining, experience gain, you can be the best in the world at that thing. Now, whether or not that's a specific thing, like, and I've been playing guitar for a long time, I'm not going to be the best guitar player in the world. I don't have that overwhelming natural talent, but I can be the best version of myself playing guitar in the world. There's not going to be another one of me, so that's, again, trying to make yourself as individualistic as possible, right? Trying to have all these hobbies and have all these things that make you who you are as a person. And I think it's overwhelmingly important to build up those hobbies, to build up those things, to really to just increase the enjoyment that you get out of life, right? Like, you're going to find so much enjoyment in getting involved with community that you're going to wish that you had been doing a lot of this stuff a lot sooner. Anyways, I think that wraps it up. I think we'll talk about something else for the next video. I think I pretty much covered what I wanted to talk about in this one. And I think I'll delve into each one with a little bit more kind of explanation and guidance as to like how to establish some of these things. Because if I'm just like, you should pick a musical instrument and play, and it's like, well, what does that look like? Like, which musical instrument should I pick? Which ones, are easiest? Which ones are hardest? Which ones are affordable? Which ones aren't? Which ones have lessons? All that good stuff. I think, we can talk about that. And the same goes for fitness and for hobbies and that kind of thing, like cost and, how long does it take to get good at it? All that stuff. Which I think I'll do in my next couple of videos. But for now, I think that'll conclude this one. Sorry about the phone falling on the floor. I have to get some kind of like stand to put in the car. That way, maybe it can like video from right here. That way, it's not just sitting up here on my display. That way it doesn't fall over again in the middle of the video. It's kind of hilarious, but I think it's a little more authentic than, me trying to edit it out or anything like that. I don't want this to be a well-polished product until, such a point when it pays for itself, basically, right? Like, I get enough followers and, potentially be making AdSense money off views that I could hire an editor or something. But yeah, that's a big lofty goal, right? Like, for now, it's just produce videos and talk, because it's taken me so long just to do this in the first place. So it's like one small step at a time, right? If you liked the video, please like it. Leave a comment. I'd love to know what it is that you guys want to see, want to talk about. I'll probably keep doing these just dialogue conversations for a while until I get to a point where, I can set up and film myself doing some of these things that I like to do. And I'll start posting some of that. Maybe I'll do like a once weekly. Yeah, I think I might do something like that. Do like a once weekly view into, some of the things that I like to do, like hobbies, working out at the gym, or playing guitar, playing disc golf, going on a hike, stuff like that. Probably do like a once a week thing for that. And then have these car chat conversations every few days, and that kind of be the bulk of the channel, at least for now. Please like the video if you liked it. Please leave a comment below. Consider subscribing. I think we have one right now. Literally one. And I know the guy. So it doesn't even really count. But, we'll set the goal at having 10. And then hopefully at some point we'll say, we're setting the goal for 10 million subscribers or something like that. But, we'll see how far that actually goes. I think that pretty much wraps it up. I'll see you guys in the next video.